I'm making my first viral video. Not that I think this is going to do any better or worse than any of the other videos, but I am absolutely chock full of virus. Hello and welcome to an AVForums short video overview of the Fell Audio amp and CD player. My name is Ed Selley. I'm the hi-fi editor for AVForums. I've been doing a few of these things now. We're homing in on a whole year's worth of them. We've decided to look at the Fell amp and CD player because they're extremely interesting. Fell Audio is a brand new hi-fi company, and that's not something you get to say very often. It's even rarer when you take into account that these products are British designed and British made. They exist to allow UK retailer Peter Tyson to have a product which, bluntly speaking, they don't need to compete with anyone else on. But when we've seen things like this before, how do I say this delicately? I'm not going to mention any products. Sometimes it feels a bit cynical, a bit half-hearted. One thing that these products are not is either of those things. These are the result of a fairly extensive piece of development, and nothing about them says good enough or that will do or well we need X to do that or so on and so forth. They have been designed and developed based on the extensive feedback that Peter Tyson has from selling hi-fi, and by and large they do what Peter Tyson wants them to do rather than necessarily pandering to any other specific requirements. What you get is a £600 amplifier and a £500 CD player. They, of course, can be purchased separately, but if you do purchase them as a set, that price at the moment, at the time of recording, which is perilously close to Christmas 2024, there is a package bundle price of £1,000 for the pair. Let's deal with the amplifier first. This is pretty broadly exactly what you should be looking for in an affordable amp in 2024/2025. You get, first and foremost, two analog line inputs and a moving magnet phono stage. Then that is combined with an ESS DAC, which allows for a small digital board of single coaxial, single optical, and a Bluetooth connection. We can get sniffy about Bluetooth, but anyone that's read any of my reviews as opposed to just looks at the videos will know that I am not a sniffy person about Bluetooth. Bluetooth suffers from the curse of having been unleashed on the audio market too early, when it sounded grim and it was monumentally unreliable if you were more than about 3 feet from the unit. These days, it's a bulletproof connection that can be made to sound genuinely good. And if you simply want to stream to the Fell amp with no additional hardware other than a smartphone, which I'm betting you already own, it works brilliantly. What's interesting about this is, we'll cover the looks in a moment, and there's elements of trad to the Fell. The amplification section is not part of that trad. This is a Class D amplifier. What's more, Fell isn't pretending it's something else and then putting a Class D module in there. They experimented with all sorts of different amplifier topologies during the development process, and have settled on a Class D module with a toroidal power supply, which is not necessarily what you'd find partnered with the module under normal circumstances. And there's smoothing caps and other niceties just to get the performance that Fell wants out of the product. Power is quoted at 49 watts, not 50, 49 into 8 ohms, and this rises to 79 into 4. There's some confusion on the website because the power figures are labelled differently, but that is as best as I can work out the figures as they are, and I'm sure that someone will be along to correct me in the comments if I've got it wrong. More pertinent than the actual numbers is there is enough power. There are some strange comments both here and elsewhere about exactly how much power you need in a domestic hi-fi system, with the caveat that I'm speaking to you from the UK, where we all live in overpriced cupboards. There isn't really the sort of call to have, 3-figure power outputs that you can weld with, especially not at this price point. The Fell hasn't struggled with any of the speakers that I've elected to connect to it during the time it's been on test. And we've seen other affordable amplifiers producing less power than this manage exactly the same things. Unless you're planning to try and weld with it or drive something monumentally unsuitable, you are not going to struggle. CD player is an inhaler type mechanism with an ESS DAC and some other niceties just to make sure that the performance is as Fell intends. You might sort of go, a CD player, isn't that a bit passé, a bit obsolete, a bit pointless? Let's not pretend that the future long term for CD is rosy. I mean, it's possible, and I'm sure if it does happen, people will remind me of this video, that it will undergo a vinyl style revival. I personally don't feel that that's the case, but within the market that there is for CD at the moment, it's fair to say that there's a long way to fall when you were the hegemonic global format for a long period of time. Yes, it's nowhere near the force that it used to be, but there's still quite a lot of force inherent with what you can do with it. Furthermore, when everyone else stops making CD players, if you've got a sensibly priced one that is the same width and of a fundamental design that is inoffensive, and we'll cover the design, trust me, I don't see this being a problem for Fell. I see them doing rather well out of it. Sometime in 2025, a streamer will be due as well, again in matching casework. I'm not going to pretend that there isn't a lot of competition for that. We've tested a number of affordable streamers and we've done videos on some of those affordable streamers. We know that they're mind-blowingly good. We'll have to see how Fell gets on trying to compete in that space. I really like these products. I'll put my cards on the table. I think that's, no sense pretending otherwise. What I think is very clever about this is that this is retro without being screamingly derivative of any one particular item. There's callbacks, there's nods to a number of different products over the last 40 years. But then actually, when you look at it, you look at them as a pair, they sit and they look perfectly non-trad. They are designed in such a way that they are distinctive without being, impossible to match with other products. And I think this perception is helped by two things. The first is that there are actually silver versions of this available as well. The front panel rather remains the same, but this top plate is available in silver, which breaks the lines up, which gives a useful extra option for people that want it. And the second is that they're really very nicely made indeed. At the price that these products are being sold at, you can't make casework that you could, hammer nails into wood with. But my God, they've had a good go at it. This is a very solid, very well engineered piece of equipment, both of them, I should say. The remote control that goes with them is not necessarily a thing of beauty, but it's responsive. It has all the controls that you could realistically want in day-to-day use. You don't feel that you're buying cheap. You're buying cost effective, you're buying affordable, you're buying value minded, but it's not cheap. It doesn't feel cheap, it doesn't look cheap, and nothing about the behaviour suggests that it's cheap. With regards to that behaviour, I know from comments on the main site that a number of people are not keen on inhaler style drives. The reality is that if you're doing this at a semi-affordable price point, that's pretty much what your options are in this day and age. I like this drive. It's quiet. It loads the disc extremely quickly. It's loaded discs that have been dragged around the footwell of my car 15 years ago and haven't been used since. I've long since ripped everything. It's not ripped, it's read a PlayStation 1 game with the soundtrack encoded as CD. Remember those? It can do that, and that's not something that a lot of modern CD players can do. And broadly speaking, it's just behaved exactly as you would hope a product to do. It's a very confidence-inspiring show. This is matched by the Amplifier, where all of the controls are logical. I like having direct input selection. Yes, I know a number of people have taken considerable umbrage that the phono stage input is marked as vinyl. I mean, if that's the worst in your life to contend with at this point, I'd suggest that there are worse things to be worried about. And again, it's generally well made. The only thing I don't like, and I need to caveat this with, it's potentially possible I've missed how to turn this off. Every time the amplifier is turned on, the volume will reset to 0. Because I'm only reviewing them and I don't own them, I tend to forget that the volume resets to 0. So there follows a spate where I actually then mess around with inputs and source and stuff, trying to work out why no noise is coming out. And then I turn to adjusting the volume. This is moderately annoying, but in the great scheme of things, it could be an awful lot worse. Like so many products that we review in the current age, the fact that it's Class D is neither here nor there, really. There's no fingerprint that says, oh, that's a Class D amplifier. Much the same way as back when we tested an enormous Hi-Fi Rose Class D unit, which was packed full of clever technology. You didn't sit there listening to it and going, oh, I can really hear X and Y. You can't hear the toroid in this. You can't hear other elements. What you hear is an amplifier which delivers what I would describe as a classically British sound. It's a long way from bright. I would go so far as to describe it as slightly tonally dark, especially when they're running as a pair. But when you then take the slightly overemphasized nature of affordable loudspeakers, the balance is extremely good. It's a genuinely well-balanced and thoughtful sound. I do like the CD player on its own as well. I've done some tests with a named Supernate 3, which most of you will know is quite a lot more expensive than the Fell. Not only do they have a sort of pleasing aesthetic balance with green and black, I thoroughly enjoyed the performance as well. I can see Fell doing very nicely, supplying these to people with a number of other British hi-fi brand sort of things, where either their CD options have run out or their CD options are quite a lot more expensive than the £500 that they want for this unit. The phono stage is decent as well. Is it very fractionally down on gain compared to the rest of the inputs? Yes, I suppose it is, but I have to caveat that with the fact that both the Riga turntable that appears in some of the videos and the Avid turntable, which is currently up there because the Riga is there, their moving magnet cartridges are 4 rather than 5 millivolts, so it's possible that with that extra 25% oomph that imbalance might be corrected. I haven't run out of headroom at any stage. The Q Acoustics 5020, which appears in some of the videos, has done the bulk of testing, but I've also used a pair of Neat Petite Classics, which are significantly more expensive and not the easiest speaker in the world to drive, and the Fell's done an extremely good job with it. As such, there are no real black marks in that regard. And it sort of moves on to the fact that there's no real black marks to say against the product full stop. There's no shortage of competition. Mission's 778X has an arguably more sophisticated digital board. It's certainly got more connections. It also has an extremely nice phono stage. It's of a type that parent company IAG is using across a variety of products. So they have economies of scale that Fell making just this amplifier do not. We also can't ignore that Rotel is back in the game with the A8, which has no digital inputs, but is proportionally cheaper than the Fell amplifier. And at some point, we all know that there's going to be a new Riga Brio. We don't know how much it's going to cost, and we don't know exactly what it's going to do, but it is going to be something of a defining product at this price point. Nevertheless, there's a lot to like here, and there's some very good reasons to go for it. You can read the full review and the full conclusions, but you can probably draw that the full conclusions are very, very positive. This is a very welcome new addition to the market, and it is far more than a box-ticking exercise designed to just prevent competition. It genuinely shows passion, care, thought, and professionalism in how it's being done. Other manufacturers should watch what's going on here with a degree of interest. If you've enjoyed this video, thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. So this is the last one for 2024, but they're going to continue throughout 2025 in much the same way. I'll experiment, we'll try and do them in different places. I am going to try and tidy the house up a bit so it looks a bit less like I'm sort of doing it from a cash converters crossed with a skip. But the basic premise will stay the same. I've been Ed Selley. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.